My name is Caroline Ward. I'm a consultant with Collins McNicholas Recruitment and HR Services Group. I've been working in recruitment for about 3 years now, but I've also worked in human resources in the past. So I've also been on the other side of the table, been the person asking the questions. Whereas now I'm more about coaching people to interview and preparing people for interviews. First of all, we're going to look at how to develop a good, strong CV. Looking at CVs, they're basically your ticket into an organisation. The first thing that somebody sees about you is your CV, so it's your sales document. Make sure that you're very confident in the material that you have there, that it's accurate and that you're very comfortable speaking about anything that's contained there. First of all, your cover letter. Cover letters are something that people often overlook. It's very important that you have a well-structured, short, but accurate and very tailored cover letter. You want to keep it to 1 page if possible and focus on your key skills, why you're most suited to the job. It should be clearly defined into separate paragraphs. The first paragraph should look at who you are, where you saw the job and the job that you're applying to. From there, you should develop some information around who you are, why you're suited to this role, and further pad out your application. This is your opportunity to let the company know why you're the right person for this specific job. So take your time and think about getting some of the language in there that they had in their original job description as well. You should be able to speak about anything that's contained in your cover letter when you get to an interview. So my advice would be to retain any cover letter that you send out, as well as the CV, so that you're able to look back on that information when you're called to interview and really talk about and focus on the interview, on the information contained there. So now we'll take a look at the CV. Like I said, your CV is your introduction to the company, your sales document. You should have a CV ready to go to send off to that advertisement that you see that you're interested in. But equally, you should have a CV ready if you meet somebody, if you see a company that you're interested in, that you're able to send off your CV straight away and get the conversation started. Your CV should be clear and concise, no more than 2 pages. If you're going beyond 2 pages, be very careful that you're not starting to waffle and give information that the employer doesn't necessarily need to know up front. You should try and be as clear as possible. Don't use too much jargon. If there's a particular brand name that you call a type of software that you use within an organisation, or there's an internal database, specify that. Make sure that you're not just using words that you would use internally within a company day to day without giving specific examples of it. You should make sure that your CV is true and accurate and a good reflection of you. Make sure that you can stand by any information that you have in your CV. You should never embellish or lie. You'll always be caught out, unfortunately. You should always make sure that you're very familiar with the information there. If somebody asks you a question at interview about your CV, you should be able to answer it comfortably. So be very, very familiar with the information contained there. One thing to do is to put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes. If you think about the amount of CVs that they might receive for a possible job, they want the information to be clear, to be upfront, that they're able to give you the best and immediate chance that they possibly can, that they don't have to spend lots of time wading through needless information. So use bullet points. Make sure that it's easy to read. One thing to do before you send off your CV is get a friend to do a 30-second check on it. Somebody who doesn't really know what you do. Maybe they're a friend from a sports club, but they don't understand your work life. Give them your CV for 30 seconds and then ask them to tell you what they do, what you do. If they can't get it, then it's unlikely that a HR manager or hiring manager will be able to move through your CV quickly either. So getting down to the nuts and the bolts of it, how to structure your CV. So we've laid it out that there are 8 specific sections. You can move these sections around depending on the type of job that you're going for, but it is important that you try to include as many of these sections as possible. The first one, your personal details. It seems like something very obvious to say, but you do need to include a means for somebody to contact you. A phone number, an address, and nowadays an email address as well. Make sure that that information is there. I know it sounds very obvious, but we would often receive CVs without this information, and it's impossible to contact you no matter how good a candidate you are for a role. The second section, career objectives or personal summary. This part is very optional and can be difficult to get right. This is a 3 to 4 line statement of what you have been doing and what you're looking for at the moment. So try to keep this concise, try to keep it job focused. So it's basically saying, this is where I've been and this is the kind of job that I'm looking for now. If your summary here is very much about problem solving, teamwork, communication, and there isn't very much substance, then you need to reconsider whether you want to use this section or how you're going to phrase it. Next section is education or qualifications. Include all qualifications here. You need to have your dates, the body that provided you with that qualification, and the name of the qualification minimum. We would also advise people to include their subjects, if it's a very relevant qualification, a thesis, or projects that you've included during those modules. The next section, career history and achievements. Once again, dates, the place that you worked, your job title, and then give us some bullet points laying out exactly what it was that you did there. It's a good idea to include specific achievements that you have from your time in that place of work also. So if you introduce some cost savings, maybe you brought in a new type of spreadsheet system, database, software that brought about a time or a cost saving or improved methods of work. Further training or additional skills, so that can include things like the ECDL and maybe even health and safety qualifications that you would have, or different qualifications that you've picked up over the years. Make sure you get all that information in there. Personal achievements, that could be something in your own personal life. Perhaps you've run a marathon recently, perhaps you've collected a large sum of money for charity. But it could also include achievements that you have at work which don't naturally fit into the careers section. Hobbies and interests, keep this very short, very brief. What you're hoping for here is that the company will get a taste for who you are, and perhaps somebody on the interview panel may share a hobby and will give you something to talk about. 3 bullet points maximum for this section. The final section is references. You can say references available on request if you like, but it is good to get that information on there if you're comfortable with it. The people that you include need to be chosen carefully. Are they willing to give you a reference? Do they know you well enough? And will they be able to take the phone call or receive the email when you need that reference to be given? As I said before, these sections are quite movable, particularly the education section and the careers section. If you feel like your work experience is stronger and more focused on the job, then move that to the top. Likewise, if your education is stronger and more relevant, move that to the top. If you're a graduate, your education will generally go towards the top.